welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a worth the buy or not review on the brand new Jaclyn Hill Morphe Master Brush Collection. I am super excited to be reviewing all of these brushes for you guys. I feel like brushes are so essential to really doing a perfect, gorgeous makeup application. So I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and test these out. So yeah, we're going to be doing a full face of makeup using this master collection because it's supposed to include every brush that I could need to do a full application. They also sell all the brushes individually if you only want to purchase one or two. And then they also have two different sets that are a little bit more affordable. This set was $160 something, but I was able to use the coupon codes that so many influencers have. I actually used the Jaclyn Hill one, Jack Attack. That's the one that I always remember. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just put that one in. Who cares? I'm getting something. She's getting something. That's all that matters. And shipping was free because after you spend $100, you get free shipping. My only issue was that when I ordered this bad boy, they didn't send me this. They sent me the Vault collection, which I already purchased on my own at Ulta. And I was like, oh my God, why are you playing me? I called them right away because I know if I waited for too long, it might be like start to get busy in there. I made sure to take pictures of everything as soon as I opened the box so that they knew that I wasn't lying, that everything was clear. They asked me for the pictures and they shipped it right away. It's always important to make sure that you send an email and that you call them, because if they don't answer one, you know that you have something else. And always take pictures if your order is messed up. That's the best advice I can give you. I haven't had any other issues with their customer service. After that, it was pretty smooth for me. Once that was taken care of over the phone, they shipped it and it arrived in 2 days, which I was grateful for, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I know a lot of people have been having really mixed experiences with customer service at Morphe, but my experience with the brush kit was good. So let's go ahead and get started before we keep going forward. As you can see, with the brush set comes this beautiful brush kit. Open it, this is what it looks like. It smells very fresh. Also, something else I want to quickly mention is that they break it into sections. So we're gonna go ahead and open this one first because it has the foundation brush that I'm going to be using. So this brush is like a brush that already previously exists in Morphe. So if you have that brush, you probably do not need this one. But I like the handle and everything. I like how like big it is and fluffy. So today we're gonna be doing a mixture of two foundations that I've been enjoying. We're gonna be using the Dior Skin Forever right here. And we're gonna be using the LA Girl Pro Matte. So the Dior Skin gives a very perfected, beautiful finish, but the LA Girl Pro Matte gives more of a nice matte consistency. So that's kind of what keeps the makeup looking in place and not so oily. I feel like when I just use the Dior one, it tends to be a little bit oily looking. Okay, so we're gonna go in with a Jaclyn Hill JH03 brush. Okay, this one I have to say is a little bit less dense as the original Morphe one, which I honestly kind of like. I feel like the original Morphe one was way too dense for me. I remember when Jaclyn Hill talked about it a few years ago and she was like, I love this brush so much. And like everybody does, as soon as she raves about something, you're like, oh my God, let me run to the store and get it. So I ran like an idiot and got the brush, and it was okay, but I just felt like it was way too like dense, and like I was like had like stiff almost. I feel like this one isn't as stiff, and I like that. It's kind of like how my Delium Tools Precision Kabuki foundation brush that I use in all my videos is. I like it because it's fluffy. It kind of is flexible. It's able to go that way. It's able to go this way, especially when you're blending out matte foundations. I feel like with matte foundations, sometimes it's a thicker consistency, so it's easier to use something that's fluffy and is able to kind of, you know, move in different directions easily as opposed to something that's so stiff. And that's saying something for me because you guys know I'm constantly trying foundations, constantly doing foundation reviews, but I feel like this really blended everything in the way it is supposed to. And now we can move on to the eye makeup. Look at all these eye brushes. Like, That is a lot of eye brushes. So let's go ahead and start. So I'm gonna recreate the eye look that I had on in one of my last Worth a Buy or Not videos. You guys were like, girl, can you please do a tutorial on this? I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna use my favorite palette, the Norvina palette, and we are going to start off with the color on the crease. Like so many nice blenders in here. These are all pretty much the blending brushes. So I think I'm gonna start off with this one right here. This is the JH04. So this is to carve out your crease. I picked out the perfect one. I knew exactly where I was going because we're starting off with crease. So first things first, I'm gonna start off with the color Incense, which is right here. I'm gonna be taking that right here on this edge. So I'm starting off with this like light brown just because this is going to be kind of like our base point so that when we put the next color on top, it just looks really good. Okay, I have to say this is blending out the color so beautifully. Like, do you see? It's completely blended out. And the reason why I picked this one, even before I knew the name of it, was because whenever I'm doing my crease work, I like to have something that's fluffy, but a little bit pointed. And the reason I like to have something like that is because when I put that color in there, I kind of like to point it in and then diffuse it out, but still have it kept right here. And as I'm going in these windshield wiper motions, it will gradually start to diffuse it upward and kind of blow it up as well. And that blend is a good blend. So as you can see, you can literally take a shadow and just pack it on, and with one little brush, it can completely change the whole situation. So that's one thing with me. I feel like for me, if a brush is great, my makeup's gonna be great. So now I'm gonna take the shade Soul, which is right there, and we're gonna also pack that onto our crease with that same brush. And we're using the same brush because we still kind of want to have some residue of the shade Incense that we just put on, but we kind of want to keep this shade Soul more so in the crease and not take it upward too much. So we kind of want to have that diffused look between the brown and the shade Soul. I just love how it's so precise. So usually for my crease, I like to use, where is it? I like to use this brush right here, which you guys probably see all the time. It's my brush from Peach Pearl Brushes, and it's nice and fluffy, but it doesn't have the point that the Jaclyn Hill brush has. And I think that's exactly what she was doing when she was creating the crease brush. She wanted something that you could put in and then really nicely diffuse it. So we're just taking the 31. And I do have to say another thing that I'm just gonna mention, not even if you don't purchase these, but just in general about brushes. Whenever you first purchase a brush, it's gonna be a little bit more on the stiff side. I'm noticing that these, well, this one that I'm using right now, the 31, it's a little tiny bit more stiff, and I think it's because I just opened it. It's my first time using it. It's kind of like lashes. When you first get a new pair of lashes, you are trying to lash out, and it's like not curved to your eye, but after like 3 wears, it's like perfectly just pops on there because it's like, you know, adjusted to your eye shape. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut the crease, but there's not a brush like the one that I have from Delium Tools that is like my baby to cut the crease. So the Delium Tools brush, this one right here, as you can see, is like the perfect brush to cut the crease. Like when you're like really going in and slaying. The closest thing I could find that is small and precise is the JH02. You can see the difference. This is for your brow bone highlight. That's, yeah, that definitely is a good brow bone highlight. I don't know if I want to use it for that because I would be getting concealer on this. This is the 41 brush, which is the all over lid, which we all love a good all over lid. So yeah, let's use this one because I don't want to ruin that if we're going to be using that for the brow bone highlight. It's working fine, but I like more of a smaller brush because it's more precise. And it's nothing wrong with the brush. It's just that for these creases, I like to really like cut it. But I think I'm gonna go back in with my Delium tools because it's so skinny and precise, and just kind of carve it out a little bit more. Okay, so this brush definitely is great for the lid. Just, it was able to pack on the concealer perfectly on the lid. But when it came to really carving out up here, these edges, it was a little bit harder. And that's because this brush isn't for that. It's more for just putting it all over the lid. A lot of people on the everyday aren't gonna like sit there and carve out the crease. I feel like I'm happy she did include this brush because it's kind of like my holy grail MAC 242. That is like the staple brush for packing on that all over lid. So many brushes, so little space. Okay, so now we're gonna take the color base, which is right here. It's like a nice, like, it's not a white shade. It's kind of like an off-white, like a cream shade. And we're gonna be using the Jaclyn Hill All Over Lip Color, brush 47. And we're gonna just be placing that right on this outer half. I do have to say, I wish this brush was a little tiny bit skinnier, so you may get a little bit of product like outside of the space. So I'm gonna take this little brush right here. This is the Jaclyn Hill 40 brush. This one is Precise Blender brush, which is great. We always like a small fluffy brush in case you need to remove some product, which I have to do on this little edge. Hopefully it doesn't ruin my look. So just be very mindful to be precise. Okay, that's good. So for the next color, we're gonna use this brush right here. This is the JH37, and 37 is a buffer blender. I like to use these type of brushes, the buffer blenders, that are kind of more tightly packed to kind of start applying that outer edge color right there. Are really good for packing in the color on these outer edges when you're kind of trying to smoke it and kind of trying to like really like blow it up. So I feel like as I'm going in, I'm able to kind of blend the color Soul into the color base, so it has a really nice diffused look. So then we're gonna go in with the smaller blender. This is the JH40, the Precision Blender, which I think is a fabulous brush to start to kind of blend little areas. I feel like for me, whenever I use a smaller blending brush like this one, it blends it really, really gently and really, really softly, as opposed to using a very large brush, a large blending brush. I feel like a large blending brush kind of blends everything faster and really, really diffuses it out. So if you don't want to diffuse out the color too much, you just kind of want to lightly start to diffuse out, I would say start off with this 40 brush. So far I've used 5 of the eye brushes, and there's still a bunch more that I haven't tried out. So which one do we want to go in with next? Let's take this one. This one reminds me a little bit of the Sigma E40, which is an original Holy Grail Jaclyn Hill favorite brush from years ago. This is the JH36. Let's see what it's for. An eye buffer. So this really does, do I have it out here? Yeah, it reminds me of it, except that Sigma E40 is a little bit longer. As you can see, like it goes up a little bit higher, but this one doesn't, but it's the same kind of fluff in there. Let's kind of blend these two colors in here a little bit more. So now we have all these other ones to use, which even if we don't use them all today, it's totally fine. There's just so many of them, and I'm grateful that there's so many of them because this allows me to really have a lot of options, because sometimes when I'm having a hard time blending an eyeshadow, let's say just sucks quality, your brushes can always find a way to like make it a better situation for you. So it's always good to have a bunch of these brushes. Okay, so we went ahead and finished the eyes. Okay, so for concealer today, we're gonna be using our MAC 24 Hour Studio Fix Concealer. And let's just go ahead and apply this on our under eyes. Okay, so this is the JH08 brush, and this is a brush that you can use for any type, where is it? For anything creamy, that's what it's called. So I'm assuming that I can go ahead and use this for concealer. So we're gonna go ahead, instead of going in with my sponge, I'm gonna go in with this brush. I feel like right now it's kind of blending it right into the foundation, which I don't have a problem with. I feel like if you want a more natural looking application and you don't want your concealer to look really, really full or cakey, then you're gonna like using this JH08 brush. And now I'm gonna go in with my powder. I'm gonna be using the Airspun powder. And we are gonna be taking the brush that is meant for the powder. This is the 07 brush, and we're gonna take a good amount of powder. This brush reminds me a lot of my Morphe M433 brush. Very, very similar situation right there. I do have to say, I feel like this brush kind of retains powder a little bit. So just make sure that when you go in with powder to powder around the face, you don't use too much. The reason I had a lot was because I was baking the under eye, but just make sure that you take a little bit of it. I would say though, I still feel like my preference to kind of bake and stamp the powder on the under eye is always using a sponge. I just feel like it's better for me. This is the Morphe highlight and contour sponge, I think, but I like to use it to bake. But I do feel like this is really good to dust away that bake, just like how I always use my Morphe M433. This is a holy grail, and it's literally pretty much the same thing as that one. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and go in with this big mama. This is the JH02, which is the bronzer brush that she was so excited to talk about and she worked so hard on. When I saw her talk about this, it reminded me of this Tom Ford brush that everybody was obsessed with. I think especially her, but was like really expensive. I was like, maybe this is kind of like duping it. So I'm excited to kind of use this all over my forehead. So we're gonna be going in with our Benefit Hoola bronzer. And let's go to town. And when I'm bronzing, I just kind of like to go along my forehead. Okay, right off the bat, this is a really good brush for this. Like, it's distributing that bronzer evenly throughout on this side and this side. I know that with some brushes that I've tried in the past, I'll pack on some of that bronzer and it will give me like blotches, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. But this really like puts it on there, but then when you're blended out, it blends it out beautifully, as you can see. There's no harshness. Okay, and then this one, which is the JH05, you can go ahead and use to contour. So you can go ahead and go in here. It's very nice and precise for that contouring situation. To be honest, right now, I haven't really been into contouring my cheeks. I've been more into just going in with blush and kind of defining them with my blush brush. But you could always go ahead and use this. Let me see if I can kind of use it for my nose a little bit. Kind of wanted to like snatch the nose a little bit. It doesn't give you too much harshness. It kind of just gives you like some definition on the edges, and it worked. It worked very well. So now for blush, we're gonna go ahead and use our Milani Luminoso. I feel like this will go perfect with the look we have going on. And we're gonna be taking the 04 blush brush. I live for an angled blush brush. You guys know my baby, this crusty ass little brush I own. It's like so fluffed out because I use it all the time. It's faded, it's crusty. Maybe it's time for a new one. We shall see. The hairs on this are very, very soft. So let's take some blush. It picks up the blush very quickly. I feel like it's not as fat as I would want it to be. I feel like when it's a little bit fatter, like fluffier, it's able to really kind of target more space on my face. Maybe it's because I have a big face. Like how I said earlier, when you first use brushes, you kind of have to like get them used to your face and the way that you maneuver them for it to really go your way, because they're kind of like, you know, shaped to perfection. Okay, so now there's another big brush. It's called the powder brush. So you can literally use this to powder all over the face. If you're like setting it, this is a good situation. These brushes smell really good. Like they kind of like have like this like new house scent. New car scent? It's good. Sorry, I was just like, I got really close to it and I was like, wow, that smells good. I just feel like I do not get really much use out of these really big ones. I feel like for me personally, they're pointless. So I'm just kind of like, whatever about this. I mean, I can go in back with some powder and dust it off, but it's not like one of my priorities. Okay, she also has this brush right here, which is the JH10, and this is to snatch your edges. So this is like if you're doing a look and you want to have it like stay like really precise, you can go ahead and put some powder and just kind of press it, leave it on there. I know she did that technique. But also, I know some people like to use it when they do nose contour and they're baking it. That's a good situation too. Today I kind of want to just keep the nose contour a little bit more like natural looking, not too like snatched. But this definitely does help when you really want that precise snatched nose, or you want that precise like cut edge on the ends of your eyeshadow. So I do quickly want to do a few more things to the eyes. First things first, I kind of want to go ahead and smoke out some of my lower lash line and kind of add some intensity down there. I'm going to be using this brush, which is the 43 brush, and this one is the eyeliner smudge brush. So we're gonna be taking the shade Soul, which is the shade that we used on our crease, and we are just going to be using this nice brush, which I'm excited about, and we're gonna go ahead and apply that on our lower lash line. Very, very precise. I like it. And put it on very nicely. So the brush from Morphe that I currently use to do my lower lash line smoking out is the Morphe M508. I always rave about this brush. It's very small and precise. It really gets in there and is great. You can see the difference between these two brushes right there. The one by Jaclyn Hill is a little bit more straight. The one that Morphe just has on its own is a little tiny bit more rounder and a little bit smaller, but they both work really well. Another thing is that you could also use this on your lash line above if you're kind of doing a more smoked out look, or if you're doing even like a smoked out liner. I feel like that will work really, really well. I really quickly do want to mention right now that we moved back into the eyes, there was not an eyeliner brush, and that's the one thing I really thought she would have in her collection, and she probably has her reasons why she didn't include it, but I'll never forget the way that I learned how to do eyeliner was through Jaclyn Hill's video on how to do the perfect wing, and she used the Sigma E65, I'm pretty sure that's the number, and I thought that she was going to have a really good liner pencil in here, but she didn't. I don't know why, but I would have loved to see that in this collection, because I feel like for a very long time she always had those very fierce wing liners. She always did that very fierce liner at the top that just looks fantastic. But I think it's pretty cool that they do have this one to kind of do that smudge liner, because it works great at the bottom, and it would also probably work really cool to do a nice winged out effect. So now we're gonna go ahead and take this little guy right here. So I'm gonna take the shade Dreamer, which is a nice pretty shimmer, and we're just gonna pack that right on our inner tear duct. It gets in there perfectly. One of my main things with doing inner tear duct highlights is that whenever I go in and apply color and use one of my brushes, they're way too like chubby and fat that it like gets the color like from here, it like almost looks rounded and too fake. It's not like so precise and in there. So I had to start using more like pointed defined little brushes, but this one fits perfectly in there and covers that perfect space. And now we're gonna take the brush that I was gonna use to carve out my crease when I was doing my cut crease, and that's the JH42, which is meant to do your brow bone highlight. And we are just gonna go in and place it just right there. Yeah, that also fits perfectly. I swear, it's almost like they went ahead and like measured people's brows and like their eyes to like make sure that everything fit perfectly in there, because this literally fits perfectly right there. So for highlight, we're gonna be using the JH09 brush. What did she call this guy? She called it the Glow Baby Glow. And this is, I think she said this is exactly like the other Morphe highlighter brush that she raved about a couple years ago, so she decided to make her own. I feel like this is for somebody that really loves that glow and wants to like beam. The highlighter packs it on here, so it will pack it so precisely on here that you'll get like blinged out. So we're gonna go ahead and take the Resi highlight with Anastasia Beverly Hills. Okay. Do you see what I mean? It like where you place the brush is where it's gonna pack it the most intensely. It's not gonna really distribute it up here or up here. It's just gonna pack it where you place it. So if you're somebody that loves an intense highlight and lives for that, then you're going to love this type of brush. But if you're somebody that wants something that will evenly distribute it out and also distribute it outward, then you're probably going to want something that's a little bit bigger and fluffier, like the Anastasia A23. And then you can always go in with a fluffier brush and kind of like diffuse out your blend if you like go a little too intense. Okay, so this is the full face of the Jaclyn Hill products. I'm gonna go ahead and put on a lip product and some mascara, and I'll be right back so we can go ahead and finish off this review. So now I'm ready to talk about all the brushes. So I really quickly want to touch on the collection as a whole, my thoughts. Do I think it's worth the buy or not? Because I know that's what you guys really want to know. So here's what I think. I feel like for $168, $148 once you get the discount, which is 15% off or 10% off, I'm not exactly sure what, I think it's 10% off, that the influencers make when you use the code and that you get the money off of. I think that for $148 using the coupon code for all 25 brushes is a really good deal. And you're getting this traveling case, which I think is excellent. I'm gonna definitely be using this when I travel because I feel like you can just store everything in here and not have to worry about losing anything because it has so much space. So I think that's wonderful. I think it's worth it for somebody that is starting out and is looking for a good set, that you get really good quality brushes and you get every brush you need to complete a face. So you can see every brush that we use from this collection, except for those 4 blending brushes, which are pretty much similar to each other. We completed this entire face. So you do not need to go out and gravitate towards any other brushes. This collection was generated to really help people that go into stores and they're like, I'm new into makeup, what brushes should I buy? And at Sephora, like one 5-kit brush set is probably like $80 for just 5 brushes. So just a little bit extra, you get a whole thing from eye brushes to face brushes. I think is wonderful for somebody that's just getting into makeup. Now, if you're somebody that has a lot of brushes and you're constantly using all your brushes, then I don't think you should buy this kit whatsoever. I think it'll be a waste of your time. You can get all these things individually, which is where I'm going into next. And now we can move on to the brushes that I like. Okay, so out of all the brushes that I really enjoyed today, I'm gonna talk about a few that I felt I saw a big difference in my makeup than I've seen when I used other brushes, slash that I really connected with and felt like this was a bond. So first we're gonna go in with the face brushes. I really enjoyed the Jaclyn Hill JH03, but like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I like that this is way more fluffy. This was definitely one that I will continue to be using, and I feel like she did good by kind of like adjusting it a little bit. The next one that I really enjoyed was the bronzer brush. This is the one that I saw that she said that she worked so hard on this and really spent time, and I can totally see that because I can see the difference with this bronzer brush to a lot of bronzer brushes that I've tried. So now we're gonna move into the brushes that I liked for the eyes. So the first one that I really enjoyed was the Jaclyn Hill 31 brush. I like this one so much. It's meant for the crease and it's meant to like carve it out and like blend it through. And I feel like this one, I was able to place that product right where I wanted to and then blend it out so beautifully. And I feel like I always am working on the crease first. If you guys watch a lot of my videos, that it's really good to have something like this because I'm able to really apply that eyeshadow right on the crease and then kind of slowly start to diffuse it out. And then after that, I went in with this other one, which is the 34 brush. And this one, it diffused it out so beautifully. I'm like looking at my makeup right now because this is probably one of my favorite blends that I've ever seen on my eyes. Especially if you have hooded eyes like I do, like it literally looks like I have depth on the sockets of my eyes. So I really like that because people that have hooded eyes, you know the struggle. So now I want to talk about another eye brush. This one is the 37 brush. It's kind of the buffer brush. And I really like this brush to pack on the outer edge color. I think this one did an amazing job. I feel like it has such a great blend there, but it also packed it to the intensity that I wanted. And then the next one is the Jaclyn Hill 39 brush, which is for that inner tear duct highlight. I feel like this brush is what I've been waiting for my entire life. Like, it packed the perfect amount there. Usually for me, what happens is I'll go in with a brush and it'll pack way too much, or it will literally pack any, and I'm just kind of like, this is why I kind of stepped away from doing the inner tear duct highlight, because I was like, this is not giving me the sufficient amount of highlight that I want in the inner tear duct, so I'm just like, fuck it. But like this one, literally, it packed just the right amount for me. And the last one is the brow bone. Let me show you what I use. And you guys, if you watch my videos, you know me. I always use this one, this little crusty ass brush. This is a Wet n Wild brush. It's an eyeshadow brush. I feel like the bristles are too rough, and it just packed way too much that it looked chunky up there. She knew the space that you needed to apply that brow bone highlight, and she just went with it, and she was like, here you go. Here you go, people. There's your brow bone highlight brush. These brushes that I just mentioned right here really stood out to me on so many levels. I'm gonna have them linked down below in my description box so that you guys can go ahead and check those brushes out in particular. And overall, I'm really happy. It's always a good day when you get a good review. You guys know that I'm being 100% honest with this. I'm not saying this just out of my ass. I mean, I spent $148, but I think that when it comes to investing in something, you really want to put that investment in brushes. So she did great. That's all I can say. She truly did great with these brushes, and I'm very, very pleased. I have to say that I think I like the brush collection better than the Vault collection. I think this is something that you would get more use out of than eyeshadow palettes. So that is all for today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video. Please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up if you did enjoy watching this review, and if you want to see any more worth the buy or not reviews, then please let me know down below what you want to see next so I can go ahead and test it out for you. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. I would love for you to become a member of family here on YouTube, because I wouldn't want you guys to miss my videos for the world, because let's be honest, I always bring you guys the best of the best. So that being said, I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon for a brand new video. Bye, guys.